Welcome to the Culturally Distinct Podcast. This is your boy DJ KO. My girl K Jack couldn't be here today, so today we got a special co-host today, Miss Jessica Springs. How you doing today, Miss Jessica?
Hi. I'm doing good.
How you doing, Jessica? Jessica decided to stop in and help me out today because I needed some help, and she's on this topic that we're going to talk about today. She's very informative on it, so I asked her to come in, so she decided to come in. I appreciate that.
Thank you for the warm welcome. I love it. All the applause. I feel good.
The hand clap and everything, right? To the viewers, I'd like to say thank you guys for tuning in and giving us the comments of the last show and the shows to come. As you see my ensemble today, I'm representing Juneteenth. So shout out to good Juneteenth. When this does air, it's going to be Juneteenth. So shout out to everybody that's celebrating Juneteenth, all the different groups that's celebrating Juneteenth, the purpose of Juneteenth, and hopefully everybody that's celebrating is doing the right thing and know the actual meaning of Juneteenth means. So shout out to you guys. So getting to our guest today, we have a special show today, right? So the show is called Culturally Distinct for a reason, because we have distinctions within our cultures, not just within our culture, but in all the other cultures, there's distinctions. So today we have a group here in Houston that most of you guys may be familiar with, most of you guys aren't familiar with. So today I brought them on the show so we could get familiar with you guys, so we can understand, some things that they got going on in the community, and at the same time, so we could understand as a black people to understand what goes on in you guys' community. So today, we have representing OCA Houston. We have Eugene Lee.
Hola.
and we have Vivian Nguyen. Hand claps. Quiet down, guys. Quiet down. Nah. So how you guys doing today?
My AC is working.
Okay, wait. That's a good thing.
Yeah, right? Urquhart's saying that you got to turn your AC up to 78. Man, they're not touching my AC.
I'm like, yeah, right.
I tell you what, if you don't have a generator right now, it's time to get one, because with this rolling blackouts, it's going to be hot, extremely hot. So hopefully you guys prepare for that with these rolling blackouts, and hopefully you be safe out there. So OCA, what is OCA for the people that do not know what OCA Houston is?
Greater Houston, which I'm a part of, is a chapter of a national organization that was actually founded. The national chapter was actually founded back in 1973, and it's basically an Asian American advocacy, civil rights organization, membership promotion, professional development.
Okay.
So it has a lot of tracks to basically empower Asian Americans.
Okay. So when we talk about empowerment, civil rights, what does that look like as far as with the Asian group?
You want to go and type that one? That's more up your alley.
Well, all right. So let me back up because I'm going too fast. So when I say civil rights, the first thing pops up in majority of people's head is what? Black civil rights, right?
Right.
The civil right, the battles that we had over the years. Mm-hmm. So now when it comes to the Asian population, and when someone says, what is their civil rights? So that's what I wanted to go into depth with a little bit.
Well, one thing that a lot of people don't realize and appreciate is that a lot of the things in the Asian American community in terms of civil rights work were lessons from the African American communities, from the NAACP, from those groups. One of the things that a lot of people don't understand is the term Asian American.
Okay. And
that term was actually founded back in, I think it's like 1968. There was a group that was founded back then called Asian American Political Alliance, I believe, something like AAPA.
AAP, yeah.
And they were founded, in 68, and that was about 2 years right after the Black Panther Party was founded.
Okay.
So there were people that founded the AAPA that were influenced by the Black Panther Party, the United Farm Workers, and other political organizations. So there's definitely a connection to that. In fact, and one of the members of the APA was a guy named Richard Aoki. He was not only a member of APA, but he was also a member of the Black Panther Party.
Okay.
And
he was Asian. Asian also?
Aoki, yeah, Japanese American, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
And he was actually one of the people at the time to push the APA to be a part of the Free Huey movement.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Huey P. Newton, yeah.
Huey P. Newton, right?
Yeah.
Right. One of the founders of the original Black Panther Party.
Yeah.
And basically, he was jailed because he was accused of was it shooting a cop? Was it killing? Was it a kill?
Yeah, it was. I believe it was. He was accused of killing a CIA undercover agent, something like that. Yeah,
This story gets deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
So basically, through that, the AP actually was part of the Free Huey movement of the time, and so I think a lot of people don't realize that there was a lot of people don't realize that Asian Americans and the African American community actually work together, for each other's causes, because they realize that all these systems of oppression affect all of us.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They just don't realize that there's a back history of it. There's a history of people working together. I think what was it? I was just reading something about that after Huey Newton was released. A few months after he got released from jail, he was actually invited by the government of China to visit the country. This was back in 1970, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about old communist China. So he was invited to China to actually talk to some of the the government leaders and to kind of learn about the system. So it was imagine a black leader being invited by an Asian nation.
Right, that's big. So
1970.
I want to.
It was a big deal, and I think a lot of people don't know about that history.
I didn't know that. I want to.
The things the things we don't, none of us know.
Yeah, that's why I got you guys here, because a lot of stuff that we, with me personally, I'm ignorant about in the Asian community. Because the thing is, we don't have conversations, even though I have Asian neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
and I communicate with them briefly, but I don't communicate, they don't come over for crawfish balls or, and I don't know their lineage. They don't know my lineage. So we just know with face value, right? So I want to go back to a word that you used in your last comment. You said oppression. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about oppression, of course, we know black oppression, and, things go on, and, with the black race.
Mm-hmm.
What does something for as oppressed, for the Asian population? What is oppression looks like?
Well, it definitely doesn't look like black oppression.
Okay,
it's not that severe. Nothing is that. It could be that severe.
Okay,
so that's something I want to just say flat out, and just to let the black community know that we totally understand. And we're not here to say our oppression is just as
right.
It's not our oppression Olympics.
Right,
Yeah.
right. There's no winner to this.
We don't want to win.
right.
No, the winner winning means no more oppression. Winning means no more hyphen Americans. That's what winning really means. But we're not there yet.
Okay, cool.
But in terms of the kind of oppression that Asians have faced in this country, we can go as far back as the 19th century with Chinese exclusion.
Act.
The Exclusion Act. There were several acts beforehand, like the Page Act, but the Chinese Exclusion Act basically was the first piece of law, enshrined the law.
It's a legal law in America.
Law that basically passed us to deny entry, for Chinese people.
Oh, really?
Specifically, yeah.
Okay.
There was no, one of the earliest laws of immigration. It was basically to deny entry.
Oh, wow! And this was what year?
Well,
not exact, but what year?
1800s, 1860s, 70s, somewhere around there.
Something around there, but it expands for quite a while. And I remember following those cases. There were some people that tried to what was it called? Free people, where Asian people or Chinese people were trying to apply for citizenship and couldn't do so because there's only black or white in the book in the census.
Okay. In America.
In America.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, and the only reason I do know about that, but by trade I'm a teacher. So the good news is, I mean, it's not good what happened, but the good news is that was actually in our curriculum. So that's why I'm aware of it, because they never talked that in our stuff. Yeah.
And that's the problem. It's not so much that you're ignorant. It's that we are withheld a lot of information in history. I remember for a while, especially in Black history, a lot of history book doesn't really focus as much unless it's Black History Month. And then even if you now, specifically like Asian history, it's like a small like subchapter.
Right.
So it's not like so much we're ignorant, we're being withheld information. And because of that, they divide us.
Right.
Because collectively, as minorities, we could unite and become pretty strong, but the majority wants to have the power, right?
Right.
And because they don't spend the time talking about our individual histories, they don't get to some of the nuances where our different communities actually did come together in a lot of different ways. It's just not known in the regular public curriculum.
The media will not speak of that. That you didn't know that in Korea and Japan, people were marching for Black Lives Matter, like over 4,600 Koreans, because they see the injustice in America.
Right.
And it happens everywhere, and we have to be aware of that. Obviously, it doesn't happen as much in a homogenous country, but countries like America, and you have like England, and you have all these places that have different races. Racism will always be there. It's something that will never go away. If there's more than one group, discrimination is going to happen.
So do you guys think, in saying that, do you guys think that when you come to America, you have to pick up a certain way of thinking? Because like you said, in like Japan and in Hong Kong and in Vietnam, there was marching for Black Lives Matter for Americans, for Black Americans. But it seems when, I guess, certain groups, not just Asians, but certain groups, when they come to America, they got to pick up a certain characteristic from a certain person's economically.
Almost like assimilation. Is that what you're
Right.
saying?
So
Like
there's-
they assimilate.
It's one thing really hard as immigrants is there's a fine line between acculturation and assimilation. Is how much
Okay.
do you retain tradition and how much do you assimilate? And it's always a battle. And I think a lot of minorities we have, or like not Black, but other minorities will always have this identity crisis. Like, what am I? Who am I?
Right.
Because you're let's say you were born in America or you were raised in America, so you can have American values that would clash with your traditional, like your parents, like, you know how Asian parents can be really strict and like you
No,
can't go,
not at all.
you
Never.
have to have A's all the time and you can't date until you're 30. It's like
Wow.
there's a lot of things
30.
like that.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, there's if you go online, there's a very famous meme. It's like the Asian dad meme, which talks about all of these like disappointments and expectations from like Asian parents.
Wow. But I think that's majority of people that come from different countries. I know Africans, they're like that too.
Yeah,
Like
my
they-
Nigerians friends,
Yep.
they are very strict with their kids. And same thing with Jamaican friends. Like my Nigerian friends, their parents actually discriminate more towards Black people than
Right.
other race. And I always find that really baffling. But, you get to the why, and it's an overgeneralization. It's not true. And it's kind of saddens me a little bit. It's like I try not to judge people. It's always case by case.
Right. Yeah, and I look at it also as a evil and good thing. Like the same person could do good to you, that same person could do evil to you, no matter what the color is. It could be black, white, Asian, whatever.
Exactly.
Because, people have different backgrounds. They have bad days. They have kids. They have wives, husbands. Sometimes you just don't feel like dealing with it, and sometimes you might have a bad day. You might catch that person on a good day, come back and catch that person on a bad day. So let's fast forward to Stop Asian Hate. So this is a big thing that been going on for the last, if I'm not mistaken, last year, right? Where Stop Asian Hate became a big thing.
It's broadcast more.
Okay, so it's been going on.
It's been going on. It's been building up, especially with, I think part of it was actually from the previous president. A lot of things he said, and you can just like do like a quick search.
Okay.
A lot of the anti-Asian comments that have been made over the times, especially part of it has to do with the anti-immigrant feelings from certain groups of people. Also, but I think what made it much worse was COVID-19.
Yeah. Okay.
Because COVID-19 really just shut down the economy, and the questions about what happened in China, it really brought out a lot of anti-Asian sentiment because people feel that China was responsible for it.
Right.
But part of the problem, and this is where it becomes racist, is that when people, blame China for it, then the next thing they're going to do, they're going to blame Chinese for it.
Correct.
And then they're going to say, well, I can't tell what Chinese looks like, so I'm just going to blame Asians for it. So in this country, all Asians got the blame, and have been blamed. They have been insulted. They've been targeted, and so there's all these incidents of hate that have been going on, and part of it is definitely due to the pandemic.
Yeah, that's one thing that and I don't really watch the news often. I don't, because the news is all bad. Everything is bad on the news.
It's very skewed. It's very biased.
Yeah,
well,
and
that's how news works, right?
Right.
Your eyeballs.
Everything, and it sells, right?
It's like a clickbait. They just want really.
It's fear. Like they highlight fear. The more fear you have in, the more they can sell to you. But by me looking at that, and by, like you said, the last president, how with the COVID-19 situation, and how they said it came from China. The thing is, and this is just not in my culture. I think it's in a lot of cultures. When you say China, they're gonna say somebody that's Vietnamese. They're gonna say, "Oh, that's Chinese." You see what I'm saying?
They can't tell the difference.
They can't tell the difference. It's like most white people can't tell the difference between a black person or Jamaican or Nigerian. They just say you got dark skin.
Yeah.
Right. So that's crazy. Jessica, questions?
What I've found is that Asians and blacks overall, again, I'm generalizing, don't seem to I'm just going to be blunt. We're not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
But this isn't a generalization. Don't work together. So when you were saying that, I guess it kind of made me sad and disappointed thinking about the current state, that overall, we just don't support each other and come together. In communities, we're still very segregated, very separated, and I still see just a lot of tension and I guess almost hate against blacks and Asians, both sides.
So at the time, some of these people in the South went over to California because the gold rush.
Right.
And they brought with them discrimination. And one of the ways they discriminate against is they did not like the fact that at the time of the gold rush that there were like all these Chinese laborers coming in, coming in for the gold, coming in to be laborers and to work in America.
Okay.
And so a lot of that started over there, the anti-Chinese sentiment, where they didn't want Chinese to come in. And there's some old ads that they showed where it says we need to build a wall. And they're showing people building a wall, and on the opposite side of the wall, you see these old caricatures of Chinese people with the long pigtails and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing. At the national level, those folks wanted to pass anti-Chinese laws, but they didn't have the traction. They didn't have the votes. The Deep South, on their end, they wanted to end all the laws that gave black people rights.
Correct.
So what happened, those two sides made a backroom deal. You pass my laws, I pass your laws.
Okay.
So during the time, when they ended the laws that enabled newly freed African Americans, within a few years they passed similar laws to discriminate against Chinese.
Okay.
Can't own land, can't buy buildings.
Well, you know what?
So basically, the discrimination happened, and it was the same people working to disenfranchise both of our groups.
I got you. So there was basically in a back room saying, okay, picking each other, choosing each other, fighting each other, making each other fight against each other.
Well, it's more
while they're scratching each other's back.
Yeah, right. Exactly, because the same racist folks on the West Coast didn't want more Asians, and the same racist folks in the South didn't want empowered black people.
Okay, so all right, so that's interesting. So in saying
a lot of history being learned.
That's history.
Because I'm looking at that's history, but I'm looking at it now in today's time. Because what's funny, on a national level in Congress, they passed the bill for Stop Asian Hate. So, but
look at the people who didn't sign it.
So I didn't know. I just knew it was signed, and it was
almost down party lines.
Okay, so
look at the people who didn't sign it. That's all I need to say. And then you just look at the people.
We're not going to name names.
Yeah. But, okay, so the reason why I asked that, because it's like a lot of people, a lot of blacks are upset because for the last 100 years they've been fighting for different, the Jim Crow and segregation, all that stuff. They've been fighting for their rights just to be 5/5 human, and it's funny.
And they're still you guys are still fighting,
right? And still haven't had any laws passed for. I'm not saying it's you guys, but I'm just saying in general what you guys are saying, how these backdoor deals happening. Maybe that's what's going on, and they're using us to fight against each other in the public versus the ones who have the big money behind closed doors.
Well, the thing is with the anti-hate laws for the anti-Asian discrimination laws and everything. I mean, that was easier to pass because so much was happening at one time in terms of the rising escalation of crimes,
right?
The shooting in Atlanta, all those were just happening, and to the point where non-Asians not only saw, but they couldn't deny it anymore. It was in their face,
right?
And so passing this law was actually politically easy to do. The harder thing to do for the black community, I think, was how to deal with people like George Floyd,
right?
Breonna Taylor.
Right, police brutality.
Exactly. So it's one thing to pass a law saying we need to fight anti-black hatred, but other people wanted even more legislation, like we need to defund the police, we need more training, we need more community development,
right?
More accountability, and those things were much, much harder to pass.
There's more intricacies to pass that because you're telling another entity, a government entity, what to do. Whereas this bill, to me, feels like, don't do it anymore. Like, it was just a slap hand. There's, no real reinforcement.
Right. There's, no teeth.
There's, no teeth. There's no...
But it helped. But
it's more like I feel like it was more a political move for Biden.
It's a start.
Well, it is. Everything's political, of course.
It's a start. That's what that bill is. It's just a start.
And I think it's economics too. Go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah, I think where Adam's coming from, and I feel like because we've had conversations behind the scenes, is that although blacks are very happy that passed, and we want to support you all, or at least me and people like me and Adam, that's why we're here today. The reality is, let me just be blunt, we feel frustrated that, other black laws have not passed, and it's blatant. There's blatant things, and I get the police thing. You are absolutely right. That's a government whole entity, but it gets frustrating as a black person to constantly see things in your face, and we struggle to get anything done legally. But,
one of the frustrations is that working with different Asian American community groups, a lot of them are actually very progressive behind the scenes.
Okay,
and they do support Black Lives Matter.
Okay.
The problem is probably severalfold. One, we're a really, really small voice. And so even if we say something, nobody notices. Outside of our communities, nobody notices.
Okay.
So it's a matter of nobody knows that, different Asian groups do support, African Americans in all their struggles. That's one problem. Another problem is that there's not that many of us.
Right, you guys make up what 9% of the population?
Maybe, yeah. Not even a dime. Probably,
not even the dime. Yeah, because there's a lot of, especially here in Houston, there's a lot of foreign people who are on residency.
Right.
A lot of international students. So there's a lot of in and out. They're not really situated here. And then moving forward is that I want to say, and you could correct me, is that there is a huge mindset difference between Asian and Asian American.
Okay.
A lot of people in my generation, we don't really relate to our parents. Our mind is more progressive or more forward-thinking. We are more sensitive and I guess tolerant.
Okay.
And I wanted to say there was a lot of Asian people marching here in Houston for the Black Lives Matter, but you don't see our faces because people were like I said, our voice doesn't really matter. We get passed up for promotion even though we do better work. People are like, he's not good enough. He's not outspoken. Because we don't really generally speak up.
Yeah, that's true.
And so when we do speak up, it's really bad. When grandmas are getting kicked in the face, I remember going to the Galleria, someone in truck says, go back to China. Like this when, our previous president went inauguration, like I'm in Houston, I feel like we're protected in a bubble because you don't really experience a lot of Asian hate unless you go to the square state. But for me, it was the very first time, besides being bullied in school, for being Asian. And
Okay.
I'm not even Chinese, like full Chinese. So I was kind of like thrown back because of that. And I just also want to say that I grew up in the hood.
Okay.
I grew up in the hood, and I know a lot of Asian people are kind of like me that grew up listening to like Paul Wall, Slim Thug, DJ Screw. Like you guys don't, but you guys don't know that. You think we're like, just studying like
hood
coming
chick.
into. I'm not. I'm both. I used to live in California. I used to live in California Valley. So you have to understand like us as a group, and I think this is where like you're overgeneralizing. Like there's many subgroups, right?
Okay.
And Houston Asians, the reason why you're not going to see a lot of anti-Asian hate here in Houston is that, first of all, we're Asian Texan. So you mess with us, most likely we got a gun.
Right, and it's real diverse here.
It's really
every
diverse
single race here, and it's So it's
and it's Houston is very beautiful. I lived in multiple places, and I keep coming back to Houston because you have the food scene, you have the events. There's always something going on, and so I'm really surprised to see like. If someone is getting kicked in the face, regardless of race, and then I think I don't know if it's a Southern thing. It's like, I'm going to stop that person right away. I don't care if a couple is fighting. If that man lays hand on a woman, I'm going to say something. And if, like, I don't care if you're, like, having a black and white issue. If something's going heated, like, you want to break that up. I'm very much, like, if I see something, say something.
I'm glad you said that because I was going there. So you said something, and I wanted to ask this question. And Jessica, you might be... when I ask this question too, but I'm gonna ask this question. So you say you from the hood, right? So you relate.
I grew up.
I'm not. You're not saying
for
you
several
hood,
years.
but you
Vivian's
understand.
like, look, don't put all that on me.
Okay. I could get hood.
Okay.
Because I not only grew up, like I went to Sam Houston High School. I don't know you guys where that is. It's near 5th Ward. And my mom also have a nail salon as well. And I know a lot of sentiment is that a lot of Asians open businesses in black neighborhoods.
Yes, I was going there.
So go
I
ahead.
was going there. So I was going. So economically, when you have a lot of Asians, from what I see, you have a lot of Asians that move into a lot of real impoverished black neighborhoods, from convenience stores to nail salons to
Cleaners,
liquor stores,
Right.
dry clean-
Yeah.
So, and my thing is, I have no problem with that. Opportunity is given to whomever. But my thing is, if you move in, this is me. Now, anybody could do what they want to do with their dollar. But if I was to move into a community, I would start hiring most of those people in that community to relate. But when I go into a nail salon or if I go to a hair place where they do the hair stuff, I don't see no people in that community in the store. And then the experience, and I get everybody is different. Everybody's not the same. But the attitude towards the black person in that community they're treated like horribly. So I know that's. Go ahead.
You want to start off because
the thing is, I know
no, you're gonna ask her, and now you're gonna put it.
she said she had
Hot potato. Well, let me. Okay, I'm gonna be the history guy again. So let me mention.
that's why I brought him in.
Okay.
So let me mention something that we just screened. So our organization actually has an Asian American film festival called Happy Fest.
Okay.
Houston Asian American Pacific Islander Film Festival.
Is that coming up, right?
Oh, it already passed. You
already
missed
passed?
it, girl.
Oh,
You missed it. It was just our 17th anniversary. We're the longest running Asian American film festival in Texas.
Oh, nice.
Continuously. And one of the films that we screened is a documentary called Far East, Deep South. It started off as a short and then turned into this like hour-and-a-half documentary. And basically, it was about this Chinese man, married with kids, and he would always ask his father, like, hey, what was your life like? What was your dad's like? What was grandfather like? And his father would not say anything. He was like, oh, it was hard, but he would never say anything. And one day, they decided to visit a town where apparently his dad was at in Mississippi.
Okay.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
There's a couple families in the Delta.
Yeah.
I'll show you the video. I'll link it to you later.
Yeah, and apparently his father actually, the main character, his father's father, his grandfather, actually lived in the Deep South. He lived in Mississippi. He actually had a store in within the African American community.
Oh wow!
And this is stuff that his father didn't know. Because his grandfather didn't tell him a lot of things to his son. So there were all these questions about why did my dad not talk to me? Why didn't he communicate? And it turned out that he actually wanted to. And it opened up this whole discussion of Chinese people in the Deep South, in Mississippi, with the black community. And it was really, really stunning to see. It was very hard, very, very heartfelt. You might get a little teary-eyed in a few places. But one of the things I came away with, and it just reminded me, one of the reasons why you saw and why you still see Asian businesses in black communities,
mm-hmm.
that's the only place we could have a business.
Oh wow!
White folks wouldn't let Asians set up a business. They didn't want Asian people in business. They didn't want black people having a business in their community. They didn't want Asian people in the community. So where would an Asian person set up business? The only place he was allowed to, in the black community. So part of it is historical. That's another way of oppression.
Oh, okay.
We're economically oppressed. That's why there's this history of these Asian businesses in black communities.
Oh wow!
So there's it's not so in the beginning it was just more of we're all being oppressed equally.
Well,
not equally, but we're all being oppressed. We're not allowed to, operate in the same space as the folks in power.
Right.
I can definitely speak to that. In my neighborhoods that I grew up, redlining was a thing. And to speak to your point, most of the neighborhoods that were redlined, it was Asians and blacks. Going back to Adam's point, and again, we're not the only black representatives. You guys are not the only Asian representatives.
I'm speaking for the black people. Nah.
But we're here as a. I mean, it's about having these raw, real conversations, right? It's for people here because we only have us here. I want to go back. I love that history, but we're trying to figure out. We really are, because I want to solve it. I mean, or help at least be a piece of it. We're only a few of us. Why do Asians seem to have such animosity?
Some
Again,
Asians.
I'm broad, yes, some.
Yeah.
But overall, what Adam's coming back to, when you go into their stores and workplaces, a lot of them, that's just my experience, even here too, is that there's just a lot of animosity, at least the behavior and attitude towards me and others that I'm with that are of color.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a person of color.
So you see that they're treating, I guess, the other majority group better than ethnic group?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's more of a recent phenomenon. Like I mentioned in the movie, Asian businesses had actually worked in the black community, setting up businesses, and they actually had really good relations. Back then, part of it is a language barrier.
Okay.
A lot of the people that came in there, they didn't speak English that well. So, a lot of times when you have these, small businesses, these small businesses they're family businesses.
Right.
It's not like there was an SBA, you could just apply for a loan and just hire, whoever's in the neighborhood. You just came here with your family and you just hired, family.
Right.
Because that's all you knew. So it wasn't a matter of, at the time, there wasn't really a matter of them hating other groups. It's just they didn't know.
I got you.
That's fair. That's very fair, because it is family. A lot of
It's
immigrant.
It's very
businesses
family
are
owned, and
family-owned.
if you talk to some of the older folks, they might be nicer, but you can tell they have a really thick accent.
Right.
They don't have the vocabulary.
I mean, it's the same thing like at taquerias or like carnicerias, other ethnic groups. You go to like an Arabic store, they're barely gonna speak English, and we're all in our own little silo. I think what makes it nail salons is that it's a very intimate experience. Your hands is in the hand of another person, and it's kind of awkward when someone doesn't speak English. And I worked in my mom's nail salon, and I treat everyone with respect. And I think because I'm so Americanized, I don't see color. Okay. I don't.
You see color, you just don't reference it.
I don't discriminate.
Right.
Like my like I said, the high school and my mom's salon is like 2 miles away. So a lot of us who own in those stores are living really close. We live in the neighborhood too.
Okay.
And so you'll see a huge difference in attitude between the parent and the child. Because we speak English, we speak the lingo.
Yeah, that is true.
I could speak,
That is true.
I could speak hood, like don't play me,
How you speak hood? See, you're discriminating right now. Now I'm messing with you.
Well, hood is a broad term because like my high school, I was the only Asian. Like it was like there was like 3 Asians in my high school, so it's really hard for me to navigate in that. Like I was discriminated my whole life.
Yeah.
It's really hard. They're like ching chong. I'm pretty sure you hear that ching chong or you eat dogs. Like I face that all the time.
Right.
And I know as I get older, like it doesn't feel good. Right. And people teach, like parents allow that to, and that's why I'm usually with my friends and their kids are acting up. It's like you shouldn't teach them that because it's instilled. We're all born as a blank slate. Right. That hatred is taught. That discrimination is taught. You're not teaching your kids tolerance or being sensitive towards people with differences. And for me, it's emotional because like my mom just recently sold her nail salon, and I just last year. And so I'm 35 now, so I was there in that neighborhood, my mom's salon, since I was 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so I have developed a lot of relationships with my clients, Mexican and Black. Okay. Like I have their phone numbers. They're like, hey, can you come to know how can you design? Like they see me grow up.
Okay.
And so I'm really connected. So you'll definitely see that difference in attitude between Asian and Asian American. And so when you say, like, why is this animosity? It's because our parents doesn't speak English. They don't know the culture. They don't understand the way because they only know how they lived in Vietnam or in China or in Korea. So there's a cultural difference too. Whereas like other Western culture, it's very similar to American culture. Like European, it's like when they immigrate over, it's not a huge transition.
Right. I mean, like, people in America, they're not going to tease a German for eating like, oh, you're eating sauerkraut. That's disgusting.
Right.
Whereas here, some of the things that Asians are discriminated against are not completely unique, but it's much more targeted to Asians. For example, food.
Okay.
Compared to the Black community, in terms of the kind of like stereotyping, the food might be about watermelon or chicken. Right.
Black people eat watermelon and chicken.
Oh yeah.
You just can't tell a Black person that we eat.
Right. But we eat watermelon.
It's like a Dave Chappelle skit.
No, that stuff is delicious. Right. All right. Especially in the summer, watermelon.
Right.
It's a good deal. But if you're Asian, you get teased in a very negative way about your food.
Okay.
Whether the worst ones would be like, do you eat dogs? Do you eat pets?
Your food stinks.
Or what are these chopsticks? That's not a real utensil. Your food smells because it may have like fermented fish or fermented items that don't resemble Western food. There's all these things that in terms of just being degraded because of the food that you eat. I think a lot of Asians. First generation who grew up here probably can sympathize, if not empathize, with moments in their lives when they didn't want to eat their own food. They didn't want to eat food from the parents because they were teased by their their non-Asian peers. And it's like, oh, we want to fit in, so we want to eat the food that they eat. We don't want to eat our own food.
Definitely, I talked to a lot of my friends and. There are moments, like I said, I was discriminated my whole life. There are moments in my life where I wish I was white.
Oh, wow.
Like, I hated being myself because I was so different. And it took college. I went to U of H. It took college for me to appreciate my culture.
Why you wish you were black?
That's what I was about to say.
So look, there it is. So you said, because the white, I guess,
Well, actually, I wanted to be white or black because I always thought black people were really cool, too. And so I grew up, like I said, around a lot of black customers, but like it's always like that. I wish I was the majority because black and whites were the majority. And
but, blacks were treated a certain way though. That's why you say white, because whites had the upper hand to a degree.
I romanticize because my name is Sheila. That's my government name, and I definitely romanticize like, man, because I feel like the Black group is so tight. Like you could. What I really like is that you could be a brother and then you see another Black person, you say, what's up? You know what I mean? Like you chunk the deuce, and I was like, Asian people were like, like we don't really greet each other, or we don't like.
Really?
No.
Not like that.
Not like that. Like you guys like
really?
Instantly like bond, like
you don't do
you
like the fist and all.
Yeah, like it's
that's absolutely from like the Black community, and
really?
and everybody else is riffing on that. Just
so,
straight up.
I didn't know that. So if I was from Japan and somebody, say I have a neighbor from Japan and we didn't know each other, I wouldn't go over and communicate with them? And they live here?
It's uncommon.
Really?
It's uncommon. Yeah, I mean, unless they see, mostly if you're Japan and your neighbor's Japan and you're in Houston, they probably think they're each other's Vietnamese or something, and quite honestly, like my neighbor is Vietnamese and I don't even go say hi to them because they're they're old school Viets. Like, I don't hang with the old school. We call FOB, like fresh off the boat. I'm Americanized. I don't hang out with people who just immigrated here because, like I said, I'm American, and they're hold on to the motherland way.
I got you.
There's culture that comes from being a traditional that, when you come here, it's like, well, I don't know if I like that part of the culture.
I got you.
This is part of, this is part of the Asian American experience, because on the one hand, we are Asian from whatever Asian country. So we have the culture and our traditions and our family backgrounds, but we're in America. So now we have to deal with what it means to be American, what it means to have American values. What are American values, right? And then, they ask us, okay, well, you need, like, how do you bridge the two? And they just tell us, well, you got to figure it out.
It's a duality. It's a battle.
Sometimes it's a battle.
Because you want to make your parents happy, but at what cost? Because sometimes it's more like you have to live with your parents till 30, or you can't do certain things. Like one of the biggest example recently, in a couple months ago, is like my mom and my dad. They're not affectionate. They don't say "I love you." Okay. And my uncles, and I told my mom, she worked single mom. She worked all the time. She worked in a nail salon, and I don't get that affection. And my uncle's like, and I kind of resent her because of that, because like I grew up kind of like raising myself and my sister, and my uncle's like, well, what do you expect? That's the Asian way. We're not affectionate. We're not going to tell you I love you. And so that's also a reason why sometimes Asians are not as vocal, because that's our way. We bite our tongues so much sometimes, and we do and internalize that pain. And maybe you could speak on this, and I feel like as a culture, like Confucianism and Taoism, it's more like we're peace. We don't start, BS or anything. Like, so
in saying that, so I know you guys are what, first generation American or second?
Actually, what are you?
First. I'm an immigrant.
First generation.
I was born here.
Okay, so
H-Town.
H-Town. The thing is
so we can call you like HBC, Houston born. No, HBV, Houston born.
HBV, right? That's a disease, right? No.
No. That's
another podcast. That's another podcast.
Nah, so
I'm vaccinated.
I am too.
So in saying that, I want to know. So is that something taught, like in like far as like not being vocal towards each other? Because the reason why I'm asking that, because now I'm starting to understand if Asians are like that with each other, I see why they like that with other races, because it's just who they are.
Exactly.
Of course, it's taught. That's called family values.
I got you.
That's how you grew up. When you come in and you grow up with family, and you grow up and your family friends tend to be like other Asians or whatever ethnic group, that's how you learn.
I got you.
That's how you learn. So. But one thing I will mention, because, just because Asians don't say I love you, doesn't mean that they don't.
Right. You show it a different way.
You show it very different.
Exactly. For example, in Chinese, like they're never going to say, I love you, but they're going to, which is like, I think in Mandarin is like, 我爱你, which is kind of weird. That's actually not correct too, because I is like romantic love. Yeah. So all these translation issues, like what is love, like, but they will say 你吃了吗? Which means have you did you eat yet? Have you eaten yet?
So they're showing some type of
the way they show love is to make sure you're fed.
I got you.
And if you eat and you love the food, it makes them really happy.
Well, black folks too.
Culture, man.
Yeah.
So we got that in common.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because we have what we call tough love. Like we might have it's mostly men. Mostly men don't show affection. They don't laugh. They don't joke. They straight because they had to work. So they had to work, come home, and they're not gonna say I love you. But like you said, they're gonna buy you something to eat. They're gonna make sure you got a roof over your head.
Bills are paid.
Yeah, that's what they show love because they don't know how to show emotion. They're not gonna say, "Give me a hug, I love you," and cry emotion.
Well, that's part of the what it means to be a man, right?
Correct.
You're the provider,
right?
And like you two said, it's similar to Asian culture where the new generation, like all my friends,
They cry.
oh, they hug their kids. They love, which I love, but their dads didn't do it or their grandfathers didn't do it.
Right.
But like my friends do it all the time with their kids.
I just want to say that, like I said, I've been exposed to many cultures that black grandmas and Asian grandmas are more similar than you think because they are not afraid to whoop you on your behind. But they always fix you a plate, make sure you're fed, and they always slide some money to you.
Right,
you know
right.
what I mean? So I think, how some people, like you said, like Asian people will not speak to you. But if you ever go to a nail salon again or anyone, just start a conversation. And they'll respond to you in broken English. And you'd be surprised, like, hey, where are you from? When did you come here?
Can I just say, sir, not to interrupt you, disclaimer, my nail salons are fabulous. I love all those women and men that work in them. So it's not, honestly, it's not
When
the
I
nail
walk in
salon.
mine, they know my name. I was like, how y'all know my name?
Yeah, no, the nail, honest, and I'm not joking. The nail salon's never where I had the problems. It was honestly other establishments. But I love,
I mean, like I said, nail salons are more intimate, but like I guess like liquor stores or beauty shop that sells wigs, lashes, I could definitely see why. My uncle owned a convenience store. I forgot where it was, but it was also hood, and he got robbed a lot by both Mexicans and blacks, and he had to sell it not because he was being racist, but he's so Christian and it hurts him to see that human side. And he just, I can't deal with this because I want to have faith in human. Right. I want to instill my religion. And it's just, it really kind of like burns you after a while of that happening to you because he always goes, in the most Asian, what's up, my brother? Like he always, he says hi to people. Like my uncle is super nice. He's super Catholic. And that happened to him, and I understand why.
Right. The evil, like I spoke earlier, it's the evil and good side.
There's the evil and good side, and like I said, like I've definitely had happened to me. My nail salon got robbed, but I'm not going to carry a chip on my shoulder for a whole entire race because it's a bad apple. It doesn't represent the whole batch, and you have to. People need to understand, like just because someone did you wrong doesn't mean the whole group should be blamed for it, right? Kind of like how COVID is, or how like the terrorist attacks are, or like Pearl Harbor. I mean, there was internment camps. During this Chinese exclusion, there was lynching of Chinese too. Like, it was, I think, it was being, I don't say, it was organized by politicians to lynch Chinese people too. So there's so many acts in history where we really get screwed up as well. Okay. So I just want to just, put that out there and
but it's like part of the thing where our histories aren't being told. So if it's not being told, it doesn't exist.
Correct. So, and I think that needs to change, but that's one reason why I want to have you guys on, because I'm open to the conversation with whomever. It could be a redneck white dude. If he's willing to have a conversation with me, let me know why you think this way. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not here, I'm here only for a short period of time. All of us are. Yeah. And I'm here to do with what God bless me with, do the best with it. So if it's for, some Asian guys to come on and say, okay, well, what's up? Tell me what's going on, blah, blah, blah. I'm with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm open to hear. Some things we might disagree with, some things we might agree with. Yeah. But I'm here for the conversation. I think that as a group, right, I think we all need to do that, instead of prejudging each other, because we judge each other off of what we see on TV or what we experience, what one of our siblings or whomever, somebody in our family experience, and we go off of that, and we are afraid to have a conversation with somebody. And from what you guys are saying, you guys, everybody's open to have a conversation.
Oh yeah, if you go to Beltway 8 and Beach Nut, there's a store called Viet Hoa. You'll see a lot of black people shopping in there too, like a lot of Nigerians, a lot of black people. So we are more integrated than you've probably experienced.
Yeah,
and how I met him was at Urban Social.
Hey.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord. That's how I met him too.
Hey.
So you want to talk about Urban Social?
I can't say about Urban Social. So look, we're gonna talk about it offline.
Okay.
So guys, look, let me first of all, thank you for coming. I want to know, in wrapping up, solution. What are the solutions for each of us? What we need to learn and go and push the cultures forward.
We're doing it now.
Yeah, I think it starts with conversation.
It starts with a conversation. Just if you see someone in Starbucks line or you're somewhere at the library and you say hi and just compliment them just to break the ice a little bit, just say hi. Or if you go to like like elevator and just say something really quick and just have small talk, you'd be surprised on how much people will open up to you.
And if I could say don't give up, because true story, if I could just share real quick, because it's so relevant. My old cleaners, it was owned by an Asian family, and every week I was there all the time, and I would go in and say hello. I'd say hi, thank you, you know, I guess typical American greetings, please, thank you, our culture, you know, and she would never say anything, the mom. And to your point, son did a little bit every day for years. This is years, not months and days. But my point to this is I never gave up. And just recently, last year, after years of going to that same cleaners and her never addressing me, she finally, I got a little thank you, or I'll say I always say have a good day, and she'll go, okay, thanks. She won't say have a good day back, but I finally got it. And really, I was so happy about that because I was like, it's progress. And the point is, I didn't give up, and I tried to not, and I'll admit, sometimes I walked away kind of pissed. I'm like, why isn't she saying please or thank you or have a good day? Point being is don't give up. You got to keep trying and keep trying.
Always.
Yeah. So guys, let me ask you guys this. Any handles, any social media where people could find you, so you guys, if they want to reach out to you guys just to have a conversation?
There's a lot of groups, a lot of events, so you want to check out like on Facebook and all that. There's other organizations besides OCA. There's APAHA, Asian Pacific.
They're more of a cultural organization.
Okay.
They don't do as much, like they don't do much of the political advocacy work.
Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of that, I would say OCA is probably like the
most active.
They're the only Asian organization in Houston to actually doing that work.
Okay.
In terms of things like, you know, in terms of like civil rights advocacy, voter engagement, just getting people registered to vote.
Okay.
And FYI, in terms of voting, make sure that your driver's license is Real ID compliant, because there's a good chance that Texas is going to demand that if you show your ID in order to vote, that it's Real ID compliant. And if it's not, there's a chance that they could just turn you away. So make sure your driver's license, your Texas ID. Yeah, they're making it harder to vote. Voter suppression is not new.
Right. So that website is ocahouston.org. .org. Okay. You guys go to ocahouston.org. Check that out. Jessica, handle. And what you got going on?
What do I got going on? Oh, at Jess Springs, JESSPRINGS. I got Takeover Tuesdays every Tuesday, 10 a.m. We just finished our second season, so that's coming back.
Congrats.
Thank you. Congrats. Yes, awesome. And then Black Woman Reborn.
Okay.
Adam joined us last week and his crew, so that was awesome. So we all got a lot going on. And can I just say I did take the time to look at the OCA website, and wow, it's phenomenal. You all have so many activities going on and things and partners, so I love it.
We try to stay busy.
Yeah, I love it. So hopefully I can participate in something here in the near future.
It is definitely welcome. You could volunteer. You could just show up.
Oh, language. That's another way that we get oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because they make fun of the accent. And they use like sound words like ching chong, and things like that. And that's another way that we get oppressed more than other communities. Because no one's going to say to a black person ching chong whatever. Like,
right.
Black people don't care. There was that whole movement like what, about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, Ebonics,
Hey, but no, that's been going on forever.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
That's a whole
But
nother.
the
that's a
thing
whole nother
is,
topic.
what's funny, and this is a whole nother conversation.
It really is.
But the black language is the world's language, because rap, everybody listens to rap. Everybody's dresses, not everybody, but majority of people dresses like
Oh,
rappers.
this is a different
that's
this is a different segment, because you'd be surprised on how much R&B and hip hop
influence
has affected
a lot of people.
a lot of Asian countries, a lot of the music,
The world.
and it's to the point where some of these artists are being recognized by Drake, Future, like the mainstream artists here, and they're like, oh wow, like Higher Brothers or 88 Rising. Really surprised, like this music's coming up, and on YouTube they have like 20-30 million views, so they're global, so you don't even know.
Absolutely. Hey, look, like I said, that's a whole nother
That's a whole
conversation.
different segment.
Yeah,
a
we'll
whole
have to
nother-
come back for that.
Yeah, part two, right?
It's going to be more of like, is it appropriation? That's a different.
That is
Right.
a
That's a
good,
diff-
yeah,
that's a different
discussion.
conversation.
Very good discussion.
So, guys, man, like I said, man, I appreciate you guys, Vivian and Eugene coming on. Jessica, I appreciate you coming on to be the co-host. Guys, make sure you tune in to Culturally Distinct Podcast. We on everything. You know where we at. You know how to get in contact with me. Next week we got something special for y'all. Also, we got a dating game. So we got some singles in Houston.
Lord.
I'm not single. Eugene, are you single?
We got some singles in Houston next week. So you guys
Looking
make sure
over
you
at
tune
Eugene.
into that. And another happy Juneteenth to everybody.
Happy Juneteenth.
Yep.
Happy Juneteenth,
Guys.
definitely.
This is the Culturally Distinct Podcast signing off. Peace.